training that will, you know, it's really just no certified training that can, you know, like everybody trying to get over on you, basically. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm working on the book about that right now too.
Are you really?
You know? Yeah, called How to Move in a Room Full of Vultures.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so so I'm gonna take, you know, go into all aspects of just growing up in the streets, you know, same thing, vultures, you know, being locked up, you know, like if you're vulnerable, you know, everybody on you. So, you know, and then and just the characteristics like of vultures, like, you know, they're like, if you strong, they don't attack you, you know what I mean? But they'll hover, you know what I'm saying? They'll hover in the air till, you know, looking down there, trying to see like, yeah, okay, they'll, you know, probably go down there, but they'll stay in enough distance so that you can't get them, but they just go down there to check to see how injured you are before they'll start jumping on you. And, you know, in a lot of instances, I find people in groups, you know, even in politics and in businesses and, you know, business and, you know, in the streets, you know, I don't care if you out there, you know, doing your thing, trying to ball, you know, cats always looking for that vulnerability and, you know, so they can you know, and so just show you how to move in a room full of vultures.
Oh man, that's gonna be so much game right there. A lot of cats don't really. I mean, you just hit 3 different levels of game on that one. I mean, not only you know streets, gang banging, pen, or jail, whatever one you go to, and then also from a hustler standpoint. And you are. That's why I follow you, homie. Your accuracy is impeccable. Like you're not. It's not like you watching from the sideline, homie. It's more or less like, homie, this cat know exactly what he's talking about. Especially when you said that vulnerability, like I used to call them wolves. You call them vultures. I call them wolves. Like they just salivating and waiting on somebody to slip and somebody come in.
A wolf will attack you. I was just in Big Bear like this over the weekend, and I didn't know they had a zoo up there. If you ever go up to Big Bear, that's my little hangout because it's low drama. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna be running into people, and that's just old white folks. And so but they got a little zoo up there, and so they got white wolves in the zoo. Man, them things are humongous. I'm talking about like Great Dane tall, you know, Waller thick. You know what I mean? I was like, man, these things, big old paws, like 12-inch paws. I was like, man, these things is, you know, so. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, no, this thing will attack you. He ain't waiting for you. He gonna make you vulnerable. You know what I mean? I think that's the difference between like a wolf and a vulture. Like a wolf, you know, a vulture, he don't have no choice because he don't have no fighting skills. You know what I mean? So he don't have no choice but to wait till you just, you know, cannot defend yourself. You damn near dead. Then they gonna swoop down on you. But a wolf gonna just keep attacking until he kind of break you down. Then if you figure like, okay, I can't get him, you know, you know, and you know, then he'll leave you alone. You feel like I'm gonna lose this fight. And they travel in packs though too, but both of them do. You know, you really see just a vulture just flying by itself like he a crow or something, you know, eagle, you know, or a wolf too, they, you know, for safety reasons and other community type reasons and things like that. They travel in the pack, which is good. Most animals do, you know. But a vulture, man, ain't going. I was talking to the mayor. I ain't gonna say what city. He was like, man, let me help you on your campaign. I was like, nah, I'm cool. You stay in trouble. You know, it ain't gonna be a good look for me. But he was like, yeah, all these people attacking you. I like, yeah, because you're vulnerable right now. You know what I'm saying? You're leaving yourself wide open for them to attack you. But you know, you've been in politics for a while on different levels, and you seemed stronger back then, so everybody left you alone. You know what I mean? But you know, but they're, you know, because most people not soldiers, so to speak. You know, you know, they'll wait for you to be. I don't even know if we in interview mode. I just started talking because I seen my guy on here.
Hey man, I love it like this. I'm gonna do my intro and all that stuff, but this right here is where, like, this is the meat right here. This is the casual conversation on me. I love it. And the fact that you releasing the book and we kind of getting snippets of it now, man, is all the more exclusive. So Please
Yeah, yeah.
elaborate, brother. Please, please.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a while though, too. Really way too long. I think probably just first off, I didn't attend traditional school like I supposed to attend traditional school. So I bought the little thing where talk into it and they type and I was like, this is dumb. I couldn't hang with that. So then eventually I just had to, I hired somebody and said, okay, look, you got it. I'm great in interviews. So just ask me questions about my life and we gonna put this all together and then we gonna timeline it. So I had to do that and then I had to go back and because it still was kind of dry because she would just ask me random questions. I'll be telling her a story and she would be like, well, okay, well, what about this? I'm like, I'm not even finished telling you about this. This is crazy, man. You don't know this dude,
Yeah.
And then so then so she typed out all that transcript and then reading it, I was like, this is still dry and stuff is out of order. So I had to go back, fix it, put it in order. But then as you do that, then you start remembering like other stuff, like and people, and then I had to change their names and some of their characteristics because I was like, not, like this fool was crazy as hell back then. So I was like, had to change them up and just being like, but and then as I think, I'm like, I've been around some interesting, I don't even know how the hell I'm still here, Man, I've been around some characters, man, like some people that, I'm like, this person did not care about my well-being at all.
Yeah. Once you get older, you realize
that's it's a blessing, man. Yeah.
So taking on that same page, T. And I want to introduce everybody first of all for those who are listening audio wise. This brother right here, man, I've been knowing for a long time, man. When I was in my transition in college, he was already on the other side of the fence, so I could already see what it looked like. And he had his own building. I'm like, man, who is this cat? It was like, man, you got to meet Terrance Stone, man. You got to meet Terrance Stone. And when I met him, like just his stature, just his whole get down was what meant respect and meant, he really been on the streets. Then I found out he was doing work in juvenile hall. I'm like, man, I'm trying to do what T Stone's doing. And I got a chance to meet him, man, a brother named Corey. What's Corey's last name, man?
I'm trying to think which one. I'm Corey
politician.
Jackson.
Yeah, Corey Jackson. There you
Jackson.
go, my boy Corey Jackson. Yeah, Corey introduced us. Who's another solid brother, man. You guys got to meet that cat too. But Terrance has a youth academy called Young Visionaries, man, that he started back then. It helped not only homeless youth, but juvenile delinquents. He became certified as the gang intervention specialist. Went to my alma mater. We both Cal State, San Bernardino Coyotes. So shout out to that campus. Has created some great leaders. So, but Terrance, CEO of Young Visionaries, certified gang intervention specialist. He does work in the halls. He does work nationwide. He just recently got into politics, so I will talk about that briefly as well. But Drug Leaders to Businessmen audience, please welcome Terrance Stone.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Doc. Appreciate you. This is it's just a thing. Actually, thank you for reaching out. And it's an honor just to be on here. Hopefully to inspire, someone that has walked the same canvases that I have walked, basically, and just let them know that you can do whatever you want to do, and that's my speech in a nutshell. Basically, you can do whatever you want to do, just do it.
Absolutely. And you talking from experience, so let's take it back, man. Let's take it back to how you even, certain people, when I try to find guests on here who've been through that, when I seen your old pictures, I seen your YA pictures. How did you start? How did you get into that life, man? How did you start banging?
Well, myself, I was second generation gang member. My biological father, he overdosed on heroin when I was 2. And so my mother, she remarried. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old. We married this other cat, and he was one of the founders of the neighborhood that I grew up in, basically. And back then, because this, I'm talking like 75, 76, 1975, 1976. I grew up in the Pomona area, so back then, Crips were really just getting started in Los Angeles, so that they really haven't trickled out to, the Pomona area. We just hear like the rumors, or, a straggler just probably just come out there because he got family out there, we, just getting a glimpse of the lifestyle. But they most definitely had their gangsters and things like that, drug dealers back then in the 70s. It just didn't have like the Crip and blood aspect to it yet. So as it got popular out there, they started the Crips on the west side of Pomona. And then, I have family members, uncles, really, that have raised me from South Pomona and also from the west side of Pomona as well, too. So I was just basically we were talking about wolves earlier, just raised by wolves, and at the early age, it was just, because as a young man and the man in my life, that's all the men in my life were most of them, 99% of them were gang-ish or gangsters or drug dealers or both. Mm. So I just kind of inherited. I was one of those young people that didn't need to get quoted on and things like that, because they just identified me like, well, you from there, And so wherever I go, they were like, oh, that's him from over there, So I just was identified basically based on family, really, yeah.
So family got you into, I was the same thing, man. When wasn't really family, but it was everybody who I grew up around. It was that was all you saw. It was the D boys on the corner, Nissan trucks and Suzuki Samurais and all that stuff flying around the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's those 80s. That's those early 80s with the Suzuki Samurai. But I remember just like instance growing up, because it wasn't just, like you said, it wasn't just family, it's all your comrades, the people that you be around, and when, and you get close. I remember like when things happen, I remember one of my young guys' bike got stolen, by the cats from around the corner, so we all had to go over there as a group, and we like elementary school, like give him his bike back, and, got into a little scuffle. And even just thinking back, I was like, that was my first instance of really just gang violence, because all of those that I had to, that I initiated, because all of those people ended up that had to go around the corner to get this guy's bike back. We all grew up in the same neighborhood, ended up being in the same gangs. But back then, it just was about, shooting marbles, riding bikes, and going to 7-Eleven, eating now later, back in the day. But, but as we grew up, especially like you mentioned in the scenes in the 80s, when, it was fun. And then when the drugs hit in the early 80s, basically, I'm talking about crack. Drugs has always been in inner city communities, but when the crack hit, then it kind of just changed the game, and it expanded our borders as well too, because we didn't have to just stay in the neighborhood. We was teenagers with Porsches and lowriders and things like that. So so we can go out to Los Angeles and go to Crenshaw and see what they're doing out there, and hit Venice Beach, and and just, do all kinds of stuff. I remember when we was young, like probably, super young, it's probably like, 5 cats with 1 pistol. That's like a little cat pal, we was calling back then, little 25 or
45.
Yeah, so, but then the drugs hit again, it's, you probably got, 5 people and, and 15 guns in that crowd now, things like that. So it also made the situations way more dangerous as well too.
Yeah, man, the 80s was something else. That's kind of when most of the guests that I talk to, when they talk about it, that's kind of when they started getting into it. Either you went one way, or you went full throttle gang banging, or you kind of went towards the D. And I gravitated towards the D because those were the cars that was around me. I mean, they were still banging, but we was mainly chasing the money, not really the activity as much. So what was like, how did that, there's always an end to that road, right? There's always a stop. So what was your stop and what was your end to the road?
Yeah. Well, myself, as I look back, I tell people I was bred for gangbang. Like it was just, in me, because, sometimes I still even doing business. I feel like I got a gangbang mentality. I go in a room, I look for like I don't like them, they cool. Trying to separate my peoples and things like that. I went to California Youth Authority. I think I was 15 or 16. I got 14 years in CYA. Got out. I think I stayed out for 4 months. Went right back, and then but for 10 years it's going like back and forth, and people are like, oh my God, jail. I was like, no, I was comfortable in there because when I got there, people knew me from going back and forth. I remember being in Tehachapi State Prison. I have a homie in there. His name is Alley Cat. He's been in there, I think, since probably almost the 70s, basically. And he's in there for murder, got life. Hopefully, get out one day. But since the 70s, the brother has been in prison. I remember I was on level 4 in Tehachapi, and Alley Cat, he was in there on level 4. I think I was on 4A. He probably was on 4B. And so my arrogance, I'm like, the homie in here, tell him to send me some food. I need some hair grease. I had the long hair, things like that. But then as I realized too, I'm gonna get to your question, but as I realized too, like he went to jail in the 70s. I don't even know him. He don't know me. I mean, he probably don't know my parents. Well, he probably did. He probably know my parents, but I never met this guy, never sent him anything, because I went in there with about time I got to prison. I think it was early 90s or mid 90s or something. Matter of fact, it was 94. No, 92. And I never met this dude. I never sent him no money, sent him no package. I never took care of his family or checked on him. Somebody just said, your homeboy is up in here, Alley Cat. So I called, like, who was that? Like, oh man, he been gone since the 70s, send me some noodles and this, that, like really he should have came down there and beat me up.
Yeah.
But my arrogance and just I feel now that it was just disrespectful to ask a man for something that has been in prison 20 years already, and I never sent him anything or said hello. If he would have walked up to me, I wouldn't even know what he looked like. I just knew his name and we from the same hood. Hook me up while I'm down here. And he was a cold soldier and an honorable dude because he sent it. I'm like, oh man, I was like, oh, and I didn't even get the opportunity. I didn't say thank you, nothing. I was just like,
Wow.
But what it did, it solidified, like, to the older dudes that was in there, because I was in my early 20s when I got to prison. I have the pictures if you want me to show them too. But to those dudes, the older dudes, they was like, okay, the homie sent him some stuff over here. He must be solid. So that also just gave me a lot of credibility, in there as well too, without even having to put hands on nobody and things like that. When someone like that has sent you a care package, from the other yard, basically, and how hard it is to get something from across the yard. Some noodles, and probably the package probably have more when he sent it than by the time I got it, but it got to me, but for me, like I said, I felt like I was just, bred, to be in prison. Also, looking back, my family, all of my younger brothers, except for, well, almost all of my younger brothers have that's close to me, have been to prison. One of my younger brothers, when he was 16, when I was 16, I got 14 years. When he was 16, he got 36 years in prison. Then my other little brother in and out of jail. I think his last bid, he just did 8 years in Soledad. And my other brother that got the 36 years, he did 18 years straight, came home, stayed out for a few years, and just got another fresh 18 years with 80 something percent in prison again for 3 attempted murders. So I'm just trying to, set the scene. Like, this is the family dynamics that I have came from and survived through, basically. And so with me, I think in like 1998, I was facing 2 life sentences plus 25 years of life. And at this point in my life, in 1998, I was 28. I had a daughter and well, I had 3 kids, but one of my kids, well, my youngest daughter was at the time was living with me, me and her mother. And so we had our little spot. I had a regular job. I'm driving city buses, with the perm and everything. I'm driving through neighborhoods, still throwing up gang signs and on the city bus, like it was a mess, with the perm too, with the perm under the hat, sagging, punching transfer, sagging, mobbing through Mad Dog and people, it was like, oh, it was a mess. And then so I catch this case, right? Because I wasn't really gang banging at that time anymore, but I still was a gang member, at the time. So I remember after work, I would go to my neighborhood, and back then we were still drinking 40 ounces, and the homies is bagging on me like, oh, you got on them pants, old tight slacks wearing with the boots, just bagging on me and stuff like that. But it was like these were my guys, it was good. And so, but from doing that, staying too close to the hood while you think that you're doing good, basically though too, I caught a case for being there, so we all get picked up. I'm not gonna go into the details of the case, but we all get picked up. And so bam, I'm in jail with a job, everything, facing 2 life sentences plus 25 years of life. But the kicker is that it's for something I didn't do. I was there, but I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so my mentality, and when I'm explaining, I'm also a state national certified gang and adventure prevention specialist. I'm also a gang consultant with San Bernardino County courts as well too. So I get to go in and argue gang cases and things like that. But before all that, on this case that I was facing, like my biggest thing was that I feel like that the homies didn't care that I was facing life for somebody to do. Their main thing was just don't snitch. Like, whatever, we don't care about your life, it's the code. So but I'm thinking like it's me. Like, well, I done did like anything that you can do for the neighborhood, I probably have done it, and you probably know that I've done it and things like that. But then when something happened, and that's what I try to explain to young people too. I was like, the streets is not for you in no way, no how. It's fun and it's exciting. But as far as lifestyle transitions and just being productive, it's 100% not there for you. Even some of the greats, I had an opportunity, you probably have too. If not, I'll see if I can connect you with Freeway Rick.
Oh yeah.
Just sitting down and talking to Rick, and he was worth, he said probably be like $500 million if you, today, back what he was doing in the 80s and the 90s. But he said it was only 6 years of his life, really. You know what I mean? Like he said, for 6 years I balled, but he had to do 20 years in prison, and all the other stuff basically, but for 6 years. And, when I'm working with kids, I talk about like the movie Scarface, get them excited. Man, Scarface, Al Pacino. I like, but if you categorize a movie and look at the time limit from when he came from Cuba, Colombia, till he got killed in the mansion, it was like 18 months. You know what I mean? So he balled for 18 months and then he got killed. So when we looking at people like that, like it's no long-term investments in our lives, basically, because we're trying to ball out what we can for that short period of time, then go out in the, hopefully in the field of glory or, or whatever, So just, even when I talk to him, I say, well, what's your big homie's 5-year plan for your life? Like, how do you think he wants you to be in 5 years? And if you say, well, he want me to be, have my house. I'm like, okay, well, is the lifestyle looking like that? The stuff that he's asked me to do, and also too, where's his house? Your big homie still live with his mama. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So for me, it was like that case for me, it was like I felt like they didn't care about like my life at that point, basically. You know, I felt like that they would not go out on a limb for me. And two, in my arrogance as well back then, realizing that I didn't do that for anybody else, because I knew people that have got arrested for something that somebody else had did. You know, nobody never stepped up and said like, well, you better go to court, you better do this, or, you know, get the homie out of there. You know what I mean? Because it was on you, not him. I seen stuff play out like that, but this time it was my turn. I was like, oh man, I don't like this situation. And I remember my daughter was 9 months at the time. Right now, she just turned 23 last month.
Oh, nice.
And you know, and she got a grandbaby, so I get to play with the grandbaby now too.
Very nice.
But I got a grandbaby, she got a baby. But I remember she was 9 months, and her mother bringing her up there. You know, she was knocking on this little window. You know, you behind the glass, you on the phone. She's Dan. And at that point, I'm thinking like, man, I gotta change my life. You know, so it was a decision. It was like, okay, keep following these corny rules that they don't even follow. You know, and or go home and be with my baby. You know, you know, I just made the choice. I got an attorney. Well, I didn't get an attorney. It was some church members and my mother's friend pitched in, got me an attorney, and you know, and he looked into my case deeper than the public defender's office was looking into it, because I was facing 2 life sentences, and they was trying to give me a deal for 5 years. You know, they're like, you're facing double life plus 25 years of life, but we'll get you a deal for 5 years. I'm like, oh, I'm getting an attorney.
Yeah.
You know, don't sound like you about to win.
Yeah.
Right now, you know.
Yeah.
And so I got the attorney, and I didn't even get found like not guilty. I got a hung jury, but then my attorney had enough sense. He's like, well, okay, well, what was the score? What's the count? They said, well, 1 said guilty, and 11 said not guilty. And then looked at the judge. He's like, you gonna retry that? And judge was like, nah, hung jury thing. He just threw it out. I was like, whoa, you know. So and in that instance, because I was fighting this case for 11 months, you know, so I was in there in the county jail, fought it from the inside for 11 months. But in that 11 months, you know, I just isolated myself. You know, I don't want to kick it. You know, just give me my Bible, sit in my cell, come out, you know, child time, and come out, do my push-ups and all that other stuff, and you know, prayer circles, and you know, I was just like I'm cool, you know, because at that point, like, I don't want to have nothing else to do with them, but I had to separate myself, because homies have a tendency of pulling you back in, because you know, because for one, like, these your guys, you love it, you know what I'm saying, you love them, like, you know, your mama know his mama, you know what I mean, and things like that. Y'all grew up together, and so I knew I had to just make a hard left and just isolate myself on purpose, because they will reel me back in, basically, and I know that I was not at the time wasn't strong enough to be like, nah, I'm cool, you know. So I had to just be like, nah, you know, just leave me alone, put my barriers up, because they'll come with the stories like, man, I remember, boy, you was crazy. Remember you had the bird, fool, you was doing that, boy. You be like, oh man, I loved it, man. It was crazy, wasn't it? You know, so you know, and that'll pull you back in. You know what I mean? You know, you be feeling good, and you know, you be like, oh man, you know. And so I know I had to separate myself from that, you know, just a feeling of camaraderie and things like that, basically. So but yeah, it was that incident. So when I came home, I just stayed separated. I went, you know, I had working 2 jobs. You know, I couldn't get my bus driving job back because, you know, I got arrested for attempted murder. So I just was working 2 jobs. I think I was working like at a hotel in Ontario, and then just driving like a little shuttle bus at the airport. But I was also doing that, and I started going to school. At that time, I think Chaffey College, right? And so, but while I was taking sociology at Chaffey, I wanted to be a youth counselor. So I came home thinking like, I'm gonna be a youth counselor. I'm gonna help these kids, and you know, and so but the beauty in that, when I have my job at a rent-a-car place driving shuttle, just people with actually rich white folks will park their car over here, nice cars, and my job was to shuttle them to the airport, give them a little tips or whatever, and then back. And so it was this white guy got on my shuttle, and so I don't remember his name, anything. I just remember our conversation. And so I have my books. You going to school, you feeling all proud, like, man, I'm doing my thing. This is the American dream. I'm going to college, and so he's making conversation. He's a businessman, So he's like, hey, how you doing there? I'm like, I'm doing good, sir. Driving my little bus and get you here on time. He said, I see you got some books right there. What you working on? So I'm all proud. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to school to be I'm taking sociology. I'm be a youth counselor. He was like, oh yeah, that's good. You probably just, you got a good heart, but you probably don't want to make no money. That's what he told me. And so, and what he explained, he said, well, what if you own the counseling place? And then so like, and so if you don't feel like working on a Monday, you don't have to go to work on a Monday, but you got people making sure it happens, so you still getting paid. I went back to school. I changed my major from sociology to business, right? This dude less than 5-minute conversation changed my life.
Wow.
I mean? So I changed my major from sociology to business. And so I took that route, you know what I mean? So I said, okay, well, that makes sense, because now I just off work ethic, I show up to work every day anyway. But I don't have to be in this seat. I'm in my office in San Bernardino right now. I have to be in this seat to get paid. You know what I mean? I could, because I get paid anyway. I am the CEO. You know what I mean? My salary is there. I could do all this from the house, which made perfect sense. Now I had to make sense of it. I had to make sense into the reality. I had to change that sense into reality now, and that's what I did. But yeah, that 5-minute conversation, man, changed my life. I went back and hurry up and changed my major. The business. I'm like, I got to learn this. His car is nice.
Yeah.
And I know back then I wasn't, because I stopped selling drugs and, just working those 2 jobs. And when I got the case, the DA had took my car, and then the tow truck company sold the car. So I tried to do a lawsuit that lost that. So I was on a bike at that time too. So I'm in my shuttle. Like I drove a bike for like 6-7 months, just trying to get back on my feet and trying to, just humble myself, stay out the way, and things like that. But and it wasn't even my bike. It was a person that went to the church I was going to. Let me borrow his bike.
Wow.
And so and I remember it was a little mountain bike. I was be on that bike, driving it to school, driving it to work. I should have had on one of them little helmets. I didn't even have on my little helmet and that. I was trying to make it happen. But it was this humbling experience that I feel like I had to go through, and also, well, it was just something. I think by 15, I was driving Porsches and nice cars and things like that. And so people can't like entice me with stuff. Now, I think I got all that out of my system, and just having the need to be around people, now, like they invite me someplace, I'll be like, I'm trying to see, do a check come with that? Because I'm not just going to be kicking it for free. Is it a speaking engagement? What is it? Who's be there, who I need to network with so I can get to my next step and things like that. So my thought process is more strategic.
Sure.
As far as I think it always been, but it's more in perspective now, with my career and age and things like that.
Indeed. No, indeed, man. And I mean, it's fascinating, man, that there's these pivotal moments there, or these people that God drops in your life, man, at these random times that will have an impact on you, man. One of the most challenging things for me, though, was knowing how to turn it off, or just being able to make that adjustment from the streets to the business environment. That's a tough gig, man. How did you develop your skill set to be able to navigate in a professional setting coming from the streets?
I think it's being around people that's already seasoned. You know what I mean? So then because when you're around people that's already seasoned in business or politics and you're still you'll feel really out of place.
Yeah.
You know, so it's being around all of them, like, I don't have on a suit today, but nowadays I'm more comfortable, with my suit and tie and things like that. Today I'm just polo and Jordans on, but I'm more comfortable in suits. But that's because I have been around a lot of, like, in business meetings. They put me on the San Bernardino Countywide Gangs and Drugs Task Force. I think I chaired that committee for almost 10 years. They just took me out. I got my little plaque on the wall right now where they were like, okay, you've been on here too long, you have to go. But I remember, like, that first meeting, because at first, I was hard-headed businessman thinking I'm a Jay-Z, or, like, I'm gonna just wear my hats down low and come in here with I remember I used to wear the extra long t-shirts and shirts and things like that. That don't fly in those meetings. Like, when I walked in there, I'm like, it's all old white guys and they got on suits, and I'm like, man, so I had to go give me some suits, you know what I mean? Because I was so uncomfortable in a meeting that it made me change, like, how they present myself, and people communicate with you different based on how you look as well too. For example, I remember I was at, like, I don't know if it was Big Lots or not Big Lots, it was one of these stores, but I was just buying some polos so I can get our logos on there for our staff, things like that. And so I went in there, I just had on some jeans and a t-shirt, probably baseball cap on. And so I got about like 15 t-shirts, bam. I mean, like, polo shirts, put them on the thing. They told me the price, and I have my little organization checkbook on there. I open that up, write it out. She was like, I'm manager, I'm on, manager, you need a manager over here, register 3 manager. So it took me at least 30 minutes sitting in this little store to write the check and for them to verify, things like that.
Wow.
So then I said, okay, let me do a science experiment, a social experiment. So I put on the suit, went back in that same store, like, about 2 months later. Oh, no problem, Mr. Stone, based on how I was dressed, too. So I think just being around people, that really just being around people that you inspire to be like, will just change you. And that's in the streets too. If you see a young, I'm talking, like, have you ever seen like a bad little kid? I'm talking about this kid, like 6 years old, he bad as hell, right?
I already know.
But then when you look at his environment, right, who his mama is and who she have around him, and his uncles, and you be like, well, I see why this kid bad as hell, because they cheering on the antics, oh, he crazy, oh, he done drunk the beer, oh, that boy,
right.
And so what happens is that he'll just keep mimicking that environment and that behavior. I think the same thing as adults and business people, whatever you're trying to do, you need to be around the people that's doing it well. So now, some of my mentors, I don't know if you know Reggie Webb Family Enterprises. Their family, they own, it's an African American family. They own around 16 McDonald's. Actually, I know they own the one on Del Rosa over here in San Bernardino. I think the one in Colton, the one in Montclair, right off the freeway on Central, and about 16
Really?
McDonald's and a few wings. Yeah, Black
Nice.
family owns that. Webb Family Enterprises.
Very nice.
I ain't gonna tell how much he make, but the brother got his own plane. You know
I
what I
bet.
mean? So, so even just being around him, right? He ain't with all that street stuff. He wasn't raised like that. Him and his kids and his family ain't built like that. He don't want to see that. It's not even impressive. Matter of fact, it's buffoonery to him, So I'm trying to inspire I'm trying to get on your level, but I can't be trying to be on Chuck them level and try to be on your level at the same time. You have to make a choice and just be true to your essence. If your soul is calling out to say, like, okay, well, I need to be like this, because I think his kids won't have to really worry about finances. They just have to just keep the businesses going, basically. I was in a meeting with him. He was like, with him, he was like, the pandemic has been good to us, because every McDonald's of lines is wrapped around the corner. Everybody, so he was like, for some reason, we have did tremendously well in the pandemic. I like, yeah, ain't nobody cooking. They over there eating hamburgers and Big Macs and things like that. So that worked out really well for him. But it's, so just, having people like that and a few other just role models, elected officials and things like that, and people that work for them, they just, they just move different. Then when you see the difference between, nothing against my uncles and things like that, they were just doing and teaching me all that they knew. Yeah. Like they can't teach me how to run a business because they haven't ran businesses, or they couldn't teach me how to, act in certain environments because they've never been there. You know what I mean? So then when I got around these people, I'm like, okay, it's okay to put on a shirt and a tie. Matter of fact, I feel powerful in this suit and tie today and things like that. And so the transition is just being around people that you inspire to be like, basically, and just kind of mimic them. For instance, right now, this office in San Bernardino, I moved it to Community Action Partnership over here. The CEO was Patricia Nichols Butler. Fantastic lady. She's been here, I think, Community Action Partnership for over 40 something years. But I moved over here because their budget is like over $25 million annual, right? So I can't get to a $25 million budget by talking to somebody that's barely trying to make it and haven't got their business off the ground yet, so I need to be around people like that. But then, so just being up here, so I moved my half of my staff over here. I got staff here and the staff in the Victorville area office over there. And so, but I knew, to get to that level, I have to be around that level of performance. It's just like when you in the neighborhood and you see an OG that you like, like people start, they mimicking, let me see, like back late 70s, early 80s, that was the brother age, and things like that. But when cats was really like into, if you was a Crip, you had to look like Tookie, you know what I mean? You had to have muscles and stand a certain way, just a certain persona about you,
sure.
But that's who they really just pointed to as like, okay, this is what you're supposed to look like. So cats had weights in their garage and, they live in weights and, things like that, trying to, because that was the bar, So in the business, I had to find another bar over here. I found several of them, and then be like, okay, this is what I need to inspire to be like right here, So so it's just mimicking them, but still keeping your own essence as well, though, too.
Interesting. No, that's I mean, you mimic the behavior. I mean, I think you made a good analogy with the kid. When you look at the bad kid, all behavior is modeled and learned. It's not something that you just born with. I'm not born a badass. You know what I'm saying? I had to figure out that it's okay to act like this and this is all right. Now tell me this, man, because I know a lot of brothers had questions about how to get into juveniles. Everybody wants to tell their story. Everybody wants to go in and after you've done some dirt or whatever, or just been even incarcerated or whatever, you want to usually give back. You're like, man, I don't want nobody to go through the same thing I went through. How do you get started with nonprofits? How do you get started with relationships with juvenile? How did you even, because most cats is wondering, like, how do I get started? What's my first step?
Yeah, I think, so I have a lot of people. Actually, I got a young man coming in here in a couple of hours or so, because he's trying to get his nonprofit off the ground. I have no problem with sitting down with people. But I tell him, I said, well, the first thing you have to do is, do your paperwork, get your 501c3. You can research all that stuff online, get your nonprofit status. I said, because besides that, nobody want to talk to you. You know what I mean? Because, or don't nobody want to give you they'll give you some breadcrumbs, but you're not going to get no real funding to support your program so that you're able to do what you love 100% of the time. So that's the first step. The second thing, and that's just the beginning right there, because in the second step is the same grind that you put into the streets. You have to put that into your program. I think with myself, I think I've surpassed a lot of people in my field because I did that. I just transitioned that same grind, that same fortitude and courageousness and everything, just dumped it into this. I didn't have like a plan B. It was at times where I feel like I wish I had a plan B. I was like, man, I'm tired of this. This stuff crazy. But I just didn't have a plan B, and I'm glad I God put it into me just to stick to it, basically. But I put all of my efforts into Young Visionaries, basically. Like 100% of me went into this business. So every day I was going out, attending meetings and talking to people and just trying to just figure it out, basically, and going to schools. I remember when I first started, I went into the backyard, took some pictures, with the suit on, trying to, look like a model or something, and then I went and got the group home list, went online to the state website, I got the group home list, and I printed all those pictures out, black and whites, like I'm a celebrity or something, and I sent it to all the group homes, like motivational speaker. I ain't spoke no plays, did nothing at all, but I just put motivational speaker, Terrance Stone, come here and I can speak to your kids for just $300, and I sent it to like every group home, in the region, basically, and I was like, well, just some of them started calling me back. Then they start calling me back. I had to think of like, dang, what I'm gonna say now,
Right.
a speech. I ain't even got a speech. I didn't know it was gonna work.
Yeah.
And so as far as like juvenile hall, I think we had a contract with juvenile hall. Right now I'm working on something else with them right now. But we had like a 10-year contract with juvenile hall to do the gang intervention and prevention with them. And so so sometimes if people they connect to a church, because juvenile halls are very finicky.
Yeah.
They get in there, they connect to a church, and they church going in there, like go in there, do some prison ministry, with the church, and then once you get in there, then you can, go in there, you can shake hands and talk to people like, well, I on the side, I do this and I talk about this and I teach kids this and things like that. So I think with us, it was that first initial contract. They put out a request for proposals to do a gang intervention program back in like 09 or I think 07, something like that. It was a long time ago. It's over 10 years ago. And so we filled it out, and we were chosen it was like a 9-month pilot program, and we turned that 9-month pilot program into a 10-year contract.
Wow.
In there, and so now like I've got other people in there. I just, I can't just bring people in there, but like when we renew contracts and things like that, then, and it's also just building up relationships. A lot of people, they don't really want to be or go around or even probably even just know about like meetings and things like that. And you have to be around people in power to figure out how to gain power in what you're doing. So I tell people, I said, well, like, stop asking me for money. I ain't gonna give it to you because I ain't got it. I'm trying to run my own business. But like, attend school board meetings if you're working with kids. If you're trying to do stuff in the city, like you probably never even been to a city council meeting, or trying to do stuff in the county-wide. You haven't even been to a county board of supervisors meeting, or things like that. These are the meetings that has the money, you know what I mean? Or what one of my comrades on the county school board, they be in there, they be like, man, everybody crying, ain't got no money. We be in here passing out hundreds of millions of dollars and moving around in different directions, and they not even in the meetings, or even with the with the county supervisors. I remember we got a contract with the county, but that day, like, our contract was okay, but that day, that same people that was giving out contracts, they gave out close to $200 million, and we got like a little, I was like, whoa, man, I was like, oh, I got worked,
Yeah.
But I was happy before I went in there, before I'd seen the amount of funding that they really just give out to community-based organizations, But if you're not in that meeting, usually cats don't be in the meeting, but they cry about who got it after the meeting and didn't even know about the meeting. I'm like, well, you wasn't even in the meeting, You could have been in there, but you got to tap in to what you're trying to do and who you're trying to get it from, basically. So if you're not tapped in, only thing you're gonna keep crying about it until you they give you a little something. You know what I mean? So it's just about like tapping in, like go to meetings. Right now it's COVID, cats ain't really in meetings. Like right now, I keep looking to my right over there. Is this a meeting going on right now over there? I got it on mute, but I know they can see me there, basically, as far as like I typed it on the thing. But this meeting over here is with the senator, the state superintendent of education, and a few other people, basically over here in that meeting. They can't see me, but I can see I can see them,
Absolutely.
And they know that I'm there because I typed in the chat, Terrance Stone, CEO, Young Visionaries. I'm in the house, listening, great job, just so people know that I'm there and I'm present, basically. Then also too, I tell just like join boards. I'm on a charter school board, gangs and drugs task force. I'm on the commissioner for the district attorney's office, African American advisory committee for the San Bernardino Police Department. They just put me on another meeting, the executive committee for the juvenile justice. I'm looking at this because we only had like 3 meetings because they're closing down California Youth Authority, so we have to house all those kids locally. So that I'm on the planning committee of what this look like. It's some more committees. I just can't think of them, but I'm on a lot of different committees. But those allow you to network, right? So now you're in a room with business people, politicians, judges, lawyers, CEOs, and then so once it's just like bringing somebody to the hood. I always liked it. I think I learned all this stuff really because I didn't really learn too much in school, even in college. All this stuff is street stuff, street understandings and knowledges of just people, places, and things. So it's just like if you just bring somebody to the hood and don't nobody know them, they looking at you like, who's this fool? So he about to get beat down if you don't vouch for him. Something bad about to happen to him. Why you over here? Who you over here with? You know what I mean? So when you attending these meetings, then these people are really just vouching for you. Like, oh man, this is Terrance Stone, man. Like, you don't know Terrance? That's why I got my hashtag. Now everybody knows Terrance.
Everybody knows
Terrance. Because when I start going to these meetings, right, people start introducing me like that. You don't know Terrance? Everybody knows Terrance. I was like, and when people start saying that, other people start saying that because they hear somebody else say, everybody knows Terrance. I was like, I'm gonna keep that. Everybody knows Terrance. And then I just keep throwing it out there, and everybody know me or think they know me. You know what I mean? Or some people just call me that, oh, everybody knows Terrance. I was like, yeah, that's cool. I see you've been on the social media site, or whatever. But it's just about getting in those environments. I tell people it's, even though I know it's a lot of brothers out there and sisters trying to get into juvenile halls and different places, schools, and they got a great story. I believe in their stories, but it's not what you know, it's who you know. Matter of fact, it's not even that, who knows you. So I don't care how great you are. I know a lot of great rappers on the street. They're homeless, but they'll freestyle and rap, then in front of the liquor store, you'd be like, oh, this dude is cool. But nobody knows him, and since nobody knows him, nobody's willing to give him a real chance or put something behind him because he's not in those right spaces. You know what I mean? So so I try to put myself in those right spaces with people that can enhance what I'm doing, basically. Same thing, you bring somebody to the neighborhood, he want to, and or if you're in the neighborhood, you're trying to connect with what's popping. You know what I mean? You're trying to connect with that. Like if it ain't popping or looking beneficial for me, like I'm cool. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same concept. So a lot of times we don't have to really go into super just like re-educating ourselves, but just kind of augmenting the education that we have. Because we have the skills. You have the skills. I think everybody is born with the skills to do whatever they need to do. God didn't leave nobody out.
I'm telling you.
But it's up to you to tap into it, So I had to tap into it. It took me over 20 something years, almost 30 years of my life to try to figure it out, but this latter 20 years of my life has been way greater than, the 30 I probably, lost that, that was my scrimmage, you know what I mean? So now at the age I'm at, I'm more mature, I try to make sound decisions and things like that. I protect my circle, people that I have around me and things like that. And I have no problem with cutting people off. I don't care if we related. I'll be like, I don't talk to you, because everybody close to you ain't for you. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to make sure that you can decipher that and just cut people off, because, everybody that say they love you, not really in love with you, basically.
Yeah. That's a good point, man. No, that's so much game, man, so much wisdom, homie. I mean, that you're a blessing to, the future, especially the cats who are going through it right now. Thank God they got somebody like you that's advocating, but not only advocating, but talking about that other level of the game, which makes you really have an impact. Without the money, you really can't do much, So the fact that a lot of people not start nonprofits, which is the easy part. It's not easy, but is the easier part. Now you got to go make it something of what it is.
Yeah, I think it's easy to start them. Like it's no how to like it. It's like buying a Mercedes. Like you can get it off the lot. If you talk to people into it and show some fun, you can get it off the lot. The upkeep is gonna kill you though. Because you're gonna have that car payment. You can't take it to Jiffy Lube. Things like that. You can get it. You can get a Tesla, a Hummer, whatever. You can get it off the lot, but the upkeep. What I mean? Like in that commitment. That's what you really have to look into basically after that. So starting a nonprofit is just like you can get it off the lot, but you got to be 100% ready and committed to that upkeep and the growth of it so that it can grow. Yeah. And people doing it all different. My path is not the only path. People have different pathways and different ways that they can like get it done and make it happen. And I tell people, because people come in my office, they think I'm like the silver bullet. Okay, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, look, that's what I did. But you shouldn't have to do all the things that I've done, because people should be comfortable with you in a meeting because they done seen me sit in the meeting with my hat down low and just watching everybody looking like this, and so they should be used to you already. So I done did all that. Now you don't have to go into meetings like that, but they're because of my edge, they should be okay with used to your edge, basically. Now all you have to do is just build those relationships. So now they're not scared to shake your hand and introduce you to people, because they be like, oh, he remind me of that little dude, Terrance Stone, when he used to come around. You know what I mean? So I should be able to. I had a conversation with my guy, little white guy named Kent Paxton. I don't know if you know Kent Paxton. He worked for he worked for the county, then he worked for the mayor's office. He was his lead advisor, and then county supervisor Josie Gonzalez worked for her. Okay. I think that was his last. He should retire after this. Little bitty white guy though, but Kent really just opened up so many doors for me because he a little bitty white guy is bringing me in here like, oh, this is my good friend Terrance Stone, and so and I say that because that I make the announcement that he's just a little bitty white guy, so people know that you have to be able to open up to other nationalities and things like that, because sometimes it's just doors that people are not going to let you in based on who the hell is you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So just making those introductions, and then I have people in my corner like Dr. Margaret Hill. She's on the San Bernardino City School Board. She's like the godmother of the community. Like she's she like my mom. I call her mom, and she called me son. But just being with her, I know just being around her and people think that that's my real mama. But just being around her, it just opens so many doors. They like, oh, I see you with be with Dr. Hill all the time. I was like, yeah, that's my mama, man. What's happening? And just and just people just embrace you with that But the same thing, if you're in the hood, it's who brings you in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody bring you in and they're credible. People just gonna embrace you with no questions. Be like, come on, get in the car. Here, hit this. Drink, you drinking and smoking with the best of them, just based on because you got to be homie that all these people respect, basically. Yeah. The same thing happened when I was in prison, when the alley cat sent me that package, like them, everybody else embraced me. What's up, little homie? How you doing? Are you cool? To be all in my cell on my window. You good in there? You don't need nothing? What's happening? Like I'm cool, homie. You know what I mean? But it was because who embraced me while I was in there. They was like, okay, the young dude official. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have to do nothing. I had to act a fool or, nothing. Just based on who they seen show me some love and respect. They just follow suit. And that happens on different aspects of life. Like my cats out there that's listening, if you're in the street, you're a street dude, ex-street dude, whatever you is, keep the information and the knowledge that you have learned in the streets. Trust me, you see my walls. I have over 300 awards.
Yes.
Spread out between like 3 offices right now. They everywhere. They on the side, they in front of me, and I do that on purpose. I put up everything. If I jump the most jump ropes, I'm putting that on the wall too. But I said that to say that all the information that you have gathered over the years, it's not lost information, it's misused information. We just have to repurpose it basically and use those same skills. If you're a hustler, you know what I'm saying? Like me, one of my main things is that I don't care how much education you have, you will not outwork me. I will frustrate the hell out of you for you trying to outwork me, because I don't care about working. I don't mind meetings. I tell the story all the time. I remember when I first went to prison and then they sent me to my yard and I'm out there and it was a meeting. It was a meeting. The meeting was these cats were gambling or whatever they was doing. And so he owed him 5 cup of noodle soups. So the meeting was he wanted permission to go stab this dude because he trying to play him for his soups. Now it wasn't about the soups, it was what it said, it was the purpose, basically. It wasn't about because it's probably $1 or something. But it was just the
principle,
purpose. So the principle, so he is about to stab him for 5 soups. I'm looking, I couldn't say nothing. I'm fresh on the yard. I had no say so or nothing. I'm just like, this is crazy as hell right now. I'm just watching it play out. So they like, well, handle your business. So the other dude that they was mean about, he was walking the yard on the little track, walking around. And the other dude, he just beeline to him. He was gonna go get him. He had his hands in his pocket. I was like, oh, I'm watching back like a movie, like, oh, he about to get stabbed. And then they grabbed him. They was like, no, homie, no. And they called him back and he didn't do it. But I tell people, like, I'll attend meetings all day because I know at the end of this meeting, ain't nobody finna get shanked or nothing like that. None of that's gonna happen. Today at the meeting, basically. So I don't mind meetings. I done been in some crazy meetings. I done been in game meetings where we sitting in the room and we talking about this and that, and this, conversations is crazy. I'm like, it's about to get hostile up in here, but these meetings ain't like that, So people be like, well, I'm not a meeting dude. I don't like meetings. I like, well, if you was in the streets, if you was in the gang, you had to attend some type of meetings because we have meetings. We bunched up in a little room, dangerous as hell, too many guns and too many dudes on alcohol and weed. I'm like, y'all need to put them pistols up, or something. I like, so if you attend any of these meetings should be like, no problem. You ain't got to watch your back. You ain't got to do none of that. But just figure it out, because when you're in meetings, the purpose is whatever happened, the people in there, we trying to figure it out. What we gonna do? Same thing. You need to take those same principles and just push it. Now, if you're a street dude and you are trying to navigate and move into a different system, like a business system, you already got an edge, first of all, because if you was out there, then off top, you're willing to do whatever you have to do to make it happen. Most business cats is not like that. You know what I mean? They'll take they take safe chances. We taking life-threatening penitentiary chances every day, and it's like nothing. You know what I mean? Like you talk to the average cat out there. I can go over here to in front of the liquor store right now. They out here doing 10 things in the environment right now that'll send them to prison. You know what I mean? But they out there comfortable. They just chilling. Like it's nothing. I like if you're willing to do that. But then you transitioning like you already have the edge, because they're not going to go as far as you go. You know what I mean? They got limits when you don't understand limits. You know what I mean? You're like, man, okay, let's just push, and just push it. Now, I don't care if you're trying to start a nonprofit or if you're selling bottled waters, whatever you're doing, push it to the limit. You know what I mean? And what is engraved in me too is that like life is short. You know what I mean? So you don't want to get to that age where, you 50, 60 years old, but you haven't started anything yet or figured it out yet. But then deep down inside you like, damn, it's probably even just too late. You know what I mean? Like I literally have uncles that have been gang banging since I was a toddler and still gang banging to this day. I'm 50, they still, but I know that in their head, and they had opportunities though too. The ones I'm thinking about, they had opportunities. But in their head, they've been doing this for so long that they feel like, well, they just stuck, like they feel like it's nothing else that they can really do, and be successful at it.
Yeah.
Plus too, they are keen in their own environment. When I go out, I speak internationally on gangs, and people outside of gang environments that have never been in it, they just see it on TV. They have the misconception that gang members have low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I tell them you're wrong as hell. I said, I be around people that are in gangs and they are kings in their environment. You know what I'm saying? They get everything they want. They are literally kings in their environment.
Yeah.
And so I do not know a king with low self-esteem. No. And so, so their self-esteem and their in the way that they believe in themselves is off the Richter scale. As a matter of fact, it's way higher than yours.
Yeah.
But you think because they have this lifestyle and you have this one that they think highly of you, they don't. Because if you come down in their environment, you're gonna be scared as hell. You're gonna be standing close as possible to them, thinking that's for security and safety, when it's not. And whatever they say to do, you're gonna do it. Because that's their environment and they king of the jungle down here. I said, so the self-esteem is, so I take that too. When I'm in a meeting, I ain't in there looking like low self-esteem. I'm looking like who in charge of this. So I need to meet them and what's happening, what's on the table, and how can I get a piece of it, and things like that. But it's just learning to use all of your God-given skills. I feel like I have God-given just leadership skills.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, when I was in YA, California Youth Authority, they sent me up north and I was the shot caller for the crib car. I'm a teenager, you know what I mean? Yeah. They sent me to prison. Went down, started off level 4. By the time I paroled, I was level 2. I think I probably went all the way down to level 1. But when I went down, just implementing structure and stuff, I was shot calling for the San Gabriel Valley Crips, DeWardy, Pomona, all those surrounding West Covina. But it was just because when I see a void or a hole in the wall, like, okay, well, let me fix this and hook it up and make it happen. You know what I mean? So looking back, that was kind of just honing in and helping me to develop this leadership skills that I didn't really know that I had, basically. I was just down to go. Like Like, what we doing on the streets or in there? What's happening? You know, where it's at? Let's go get it. You know, but that same mentality though too, because when you realize like the streets is, you know, it's fun and exciting, but you'll really just ruin your life in there, basically out there. You know, I tell people like Snoop Dogg ain't in the streets. Like he lives a good life. You know what I mean? He'll throw up Crip and Crip walk on stage, but you know, and probably dip through, which is only right. You know, you can dip through, like, because you lead a different lifestyle. Your kids in college, you know, they go to great schools and things like that. Your wife runs a business. You know, you don't have time to kick it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
You know, when they see you, if you in Long Beach now, you should be handling some business or helping out your community, basically.
Period.
You know, I think that was the thing with Nipsey. Nipsey spent too much time in the hood, basically.
Yeah.
Still trying to do hood stuff. Oh, you a snitch. You were that, get out the hood, homie. I'm like, this fool's starving, broke, and have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? And that was the result of him having everything to lose, talking and arguing with someone that has nothing to lose at all. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to put yourself in those situations. You know what I mean? So me, like, if you see me kicking it, I'm kicking it with a purpose. Basically, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go out here. You know, we got this gang intervention program. You know, I gotta go talk to some people. Then I'm out. You know.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at my watch like, yeah, time to go. You know, because I'm not out there like that. And plus, people, you know, it's a lot of jealousy out there though too. Just like in the streets. You know, you look back at a lot of really in the 80s, really credible. I can use that, credible drug dealers and gang, like a lot of those guys is not around, you know, what I mean? Because you know, and a lot of them got killed by someone that was close to them. Yep. You know, so even that concept, even the people that's close to me, I'm watching them too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and this is just business. I know they ain't finna try to shoot me or physically stab me, you know, but they can try to, you know, stab me in the back or something like that, or and just, you know, and things like that, just like little weird stuff that people do, you know. So I'm aware of all of that. So I tell people, you in the streets, it's easy to get out. Let me tell you how to do it. Just get out. It ain't no secret super formula. Just stop. If you gang banging, stop. You know what I mean? If you selling drugs, just stop. There's no people like, well, how did you do it? I just stopped. You know what I mean? And don't make it difficult for yourself while needing a whole super motivational speech on it. Like, okay, well, nigga, just stop. Damn. You know what I mean? And change it and do something else.
That's it.
You know, and that's it. That's all. You know, just have to just stop. I don't care how long you've been doing it. Like, I'm second generation. That means second generation. That means my household was gang affiliated. Yeah. Everybody but my mama. My mama, she had to make sure that the bills paid, everything else, because nobody else cared. You know what I'm saying? Kicking it. You know, so you had to make sure that you know, that, well, I had all these different variables around me that will make a young Black male like myself to not be successful. You know, my living environment, drugs, alcohol in the house, abuse in the house, you know, guns in the house. Then I go to jail, you know, as a teenager, you know what I mean? Then, you know, then go to prison as an adult, and, you know, and just all these different variables, like I should not be sitting in my own office surrounded by awards. You know what I mean? I should not have over, you know, hundreds of new, like, I'm Googleable. I'm like, Google me. I pop up. You know, like this shouldn't be my life, basically, you know, but it should be, because now I'm able to go back and tell other people, like you can do it, homie. Like, you can make it happen, but you just have to make a conscious decision. Like, okay, this one I'm gonna do it myself. This one I'm gonna do it my life, and just push it. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, and just do it. You know, that's my story. I had to shave my gray off so I could still be cool. I grew it a little bit when I was running for office. You know, I had to grow the little beard out so I can look distinguished.
Yeah.
Cut that off.
stepping into a new arena, man, running for office. I mean, it's that kind of puts the bow on the prize, man. The fact that you ran for city council, man, that's a big deal, homie. That's a whole nother, politics is a whole nother animal, man. How did you get through that?
Yeah, it was I think what groomed me for that really, because I'm around like a lot of elected officials. I was just texting back and forth this week with the congressman, working on some things like, my godmother, Dr. Hill. I've been her campaign manager since she's been in office. Josie Gonzalez, a good friend of mine, Joe Baca, both of them, Congressman Joe Baca, the dad, and then the son just won county supervisor. Aquanetta Warren, Mayor Fontana, Deborah Robinson, Mayor Rialto. These are like really good friends. I can go on and on, but these are like good friends of mine. Sure. Over the years. I've been knowing like well over a decade or so. So helping them in their campaigns, James Ramos, Assemblyman James Ramos, so me, I'm just like, well, let me just slide in a position over here too. You know what I mean? Because also too, I feel like just opening doors and being at the table. Josie Gonzalez, county supervisor, she always tell me like, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and a lot of times, I feel like I'm on a menu. So I'm like, okay, it's stuff that they're not give me access to. They're not telling me, but also I understand the difference between the person and the position. Like you can be a good person and things like that, but they still don't have to give you access to everything. But some people, it's the position. You know what I mean? Like our outgoing president of the United States, he had a position where they had to give him access. So it didn't matter none of his antics. Sure. The position he was in, they had to give him access to whatever he needed, basically. And sure. So I was like, okay, well, I feel like I'm a good person, a cool person, but that's not giving me access to everything that I need. I need to get in position to get access. So then, and it's not even for me, it's just stuff for like the community and things like that. So I know there's money that's probably not getting down to the community, but as a person, I don't have access to the keys to it, but the position, but if I put myself in a position, then I can have access to the keys to it to get stuff done and make it happen. So for me, it was just an easy transition. People have been asking me to run for office for years. Well, I lost that though. I got beat down, which is okay. You mentioned Corey Jackson earlier. He ran for a lot of stuff over the years. He finally just got in. I know. Great position as a county food board for Riverside. And so, but over the years, I was like, Corey, stop running for stuff. No, not the winner, never. Like, he cut it out. But he did never quit. Last battle. Battle, man, he was in there. So he called me also too. He was like, don't worry about it. I ran a whole bunch of times. I know a lot of other people, but me, I'm just not used to losing, like that. I'm just like, man, but I got a phone call shortly after from the Black Chamber. So they want me to be the president of the Black Chamber. So I'm gonna take that on shortly. And do the Black Chamber of Commerce thing. And I think too, just at that age though, to maturity, man, people say I don't look like it, but I'm 50, just turned 50 this year. And so your perspectives are different. A lot of stuff you'd be like, man, because when I was running for city council, the congressman called me. He was like, man, what the heck? He was like, you said you would never run for nothing like that. I was like, yeah, I'm old now though. I told you that like 10 years ago, So now it's just, it's just about getting in position, because once you get in position, then it's easier to get your people in better positions as well too, because you can't really, like, if you haven't did it, don't tell me about it. You know what I mean? Sure. So, and I take that everything business, like people were like, well, you should do this with your business. I was like, well, what you do? I work at the car wash, man, get your ass out of here. Right. Like if you're not doing business, don't tell me about it. Like, if you're not in position, don't tell me about position, because you don't even know what they're doing up here. You get the last end of the conversation after it rolls down and they just tell you what they want you to know now, basically. So I tell people, get in positions. Also too, like I said, I know I'm getting older. I have, more years behind me than I did in front of me, do I do in front of me. So now I have to just show cats that's from the streets and things like that. Like, man, look, I know you feel like you're messing up out there or whatever, how you feel out there, but trust me, you can do it. That's why I keep my old pictures, show them like, nah, man, I was a loco, man, I would have beat you up. We was young, man, we'd have to shoot out in the middle of the street. I wouldn't care, swap meet, everything. I'd have got you,
Yeah.
But just to show them that, like, man, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah.
Not when I talk to young cats in the juvenile hall, because their thing now, they just love breaking in houses. That's like they call it flocking.
Flocking, y'all know, man. I didn't know nothing about it, man.
Yeah, flocking, man. That's what they call it, flocking. So just talking to them like, well, take me through just like a scenario, like how you make this happen. We'll find the house, figure out who's in there. Watch them, watch their moving patterns, like what time they go to work, who's at home, what time they leave, what time they come back, things like that. I'm like, dang, like sometimes we just watch them for about a week or something, make sure, we got the pattern down. And then we go in there and they get the stuff and we try to, tell them what they look, they just breaking it all down. I'm like, kids talk entirely too much. And so, with that, I'm like, well, that sounds like a lot of preparation, but this is one house, so just think you put all of that energy and that preparation into something that's going to help you long term. You can't get arrested for it, and you can just make it happen for you and your family or whoever your loved ones around you, because that's a lot of preparation, and the security alert on that is high as well too. Most likely if you get caught, gonna go to jail. Matter of fact, you did get caught. That's why we're here talking right now. So just let them know that with all that preparation into doing that, like with no training, because you probably had another goofy homie in the car with you. You're like, man, that's all we got to do, and instructing y'all and things like that. And he's sitting in the next cell with you now.
Yep.
Like, what if you put all that energy into something that you really want to do, whatever it is, and don't tell me basketball and football and rapping if you can't really rap that good, and or you my height, you under 6 foot, and you only weigh 150 pounds.
I'm not in your best interest.
Yeah, we got to figure this out. But I use that to tell them, like, man, you can do whatever you want to do. Just lock into it. A lot of kids, they be like, well, I want to do what you do. I'm like, that's cool. But if you're in my field, you're around me, I'm gonna work the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Because this is what I do, so I'm trying to outwork everybody, in doing this, and just be the best at it, basically. So yeah.
Indeed, homie. That's, man, follow T Stone, homie. That's all you got to do, man. It'll make your life so much better, man. I mean, I even follow him on his old man workouts too, man. So
yeah. Old man workout plan. I was in there last night getting. I still work out like I'm in prison, just arms, back arms, and chest.
Leave the legs alone, right? You see how the homies coming out with the little legs. Right?
I still got the little legs. I do the battle rope though.
Okay. Check this out, T-Star. I want to take up your day. I know you're in 1,000 meetings, man. One thing I always like to leave my guests with is a book recommendation, man. If you're reading anything, I know your book's coming out, so stay tuned for that, man, if you guys can catch that part. But is there anything you recommend anybody start with just to try to get their minds out of that environment?
Yeah. No, the last one I just read was 50 Cent, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. That's a good book. For one, because I think because he's telling you, like, I think almost the same things I'll be talking about as far as just the mentality about other people that's around him, and things like that. He talked about, like Ant Banks. I think that was the brother name of the rapper that was with him with G Unit, and just like he wasn't.
Boy Banks.
Huh?
Lloyd
What's
Banks.
his name?
Lloyd Banks.
Lloyd Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But they'll know when they see him if they're a 50 Cent G-Unit fan or whatever. And two, because I think as far as like just going along with your show, he's because 50 Cent still talk with that street mentality, but he just transitioned all that stuff into business basically, because he don't have a lot of schooling himself neither, but he's actually a very successful businessman that gets stuff done. And so I think I recommend his book because he talks a lot about sometimes you just got to cut people off, what I mean, and it made me feel good because I be cutting people off, what I mean. So that I think that's a really good book for a cat coming out the streets that really because he don't feel bad about his success, what I mean, even though people would try to make him feel bad. Oh, well, he don't come over here no more. He's not supposed to. You're not supposed to catch him in the hood every day. No. Like he's a businessman, but he will most likely beat you up if you if you do something to him in public or whatever. But I think that's a good Hustle Hard, Hustle Smarter. I think that's the name of it. But by 50 Cent, it's a good book.
All right, word up, man. Where can they find you, T-Stone? I mean, you got the Young Visionaries. We're gonna put that in the show notes as well, so you guys can get connected to T-Stone.
Contact me, Young Visionaries. Got my logo and the same thing. But
yes, sir.
Terrance Stone. You can catch me on Terrance Stone IG, Facebook, and also Twitter. I'm mostly on all of them. All the time. I post all the time. I don't read a lot of stuff all the time. I just post because it's too exhausting to be trying to read everybody's stuff and things like that. But I just post and just lay low and things like that and get to work basically. But I appreciate you, Doc.
I appreciate you, T-Stone, man. You gave me more than I asked for, homie. I mean, you gave me so much, man. I really appreciate it, dog. It's like there's brothers like you, man, it's really making a difference. People always say you can't change the world. But if you focus on one individual at a time, man, and it gets contagious, I think we can do that. And the more brothers I bring like you on, sharing your story, and that it's relatable, that it's real, and that it's authentic, and that you're a real live success story, man, I think we're going to start changing this world. So I appreciate you, Terrance Stone, man. Make sure you guys tap into the show notes to connect with T-Stone. God bless you, man. Your family looks amazing too, brother, man, and you look great for 50, man.
Appreciate you. Also, a quote, leave with that. Good friend Ray Culberson, he said, "You're a man when you can say no to your friends." And he was talking to some parolees a long time ago, and that stuck with me. And I was up there speaking with him. I was like, "Oh, that was deep."
Wow.
So just everybody just keep that in mind. All my guys out there, women too. Like you're a man or a woman when you can say no to your friends, basically. So I do that all the time. Be like, nope.
Absolutely. But brother, it has been a pure pleasure. Thank you so much, T-Stone. We will be in touch. Let me know I can help you, man, to push your vision forward always.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Peace.